Time quietly accumulates as billions of dusts are piled up. It is a sedimentary layer of memories that will never be erased, like a pile of remains that refuses to fade, refuses to flow, and simply continues to accumulate. In each of these layers, unspoken voices seep through, untouched, but certainly present. The traces of thoughts carved into the invisible strata are not peeled off, not wiped away, but simply remain there like fossils that hold silence. Or it is something that is not scraped off, not scraped away in the chasm of the undulations of time, but continues to exist quietly but firmly, even in the crevices of this universe. If we call it imperishable, no hand, no wind can wipe away its imprint. Every time we step on this layer, only the echoing sound is deeper than the silence, and it is the remains of something that is no longer anything at all. It means to prove its existence. Sedimentation is the descent of time, the solidification of memory, and the accumulation of remains in the space between forgetting and remembering. What peels away is subject to the providence of this flux. A silent monument, a trace that refuses to be touched, an untouchable stratum that bears the name of immortality. No matter how much the winds of time blow, that layer alone remains there, uneroded. It is something that is not marked on the map of history, but carves a deep furrow in the contours of existence. If words are like a peeling film, then these traces are not words. It is a silence that shines in being unabraded and unpolished. It is an imprint without sound, a shape that cannot be seen, and a trace that does not belong to anyone's memory. It is not even allowed to be forgotten, but only continues to prove its place by remaining silent. If time washes away everything, why does this trace of impermanence continue to exist there? Refusing to weather is the wail of a soul that refuses to be purified in the name of change. We cannot dig it up and uncover its core. It reflects the shadow of those who see it, slips through the hands of those who touch it, and grows distant the more we try to understand it. The trace of the imperishable is something that remains only inside ourselves, something that cannot be removed. If we listen carefully, we can hear a faint echo from the depths of the layers of sedimentation. It is the voice of memory, or rather the silence of memory. In any case, there is something that cannot be removed. It is indeed staring at us from the depths. A stratum of silence woven by the breath of eternity. Memories that cannot be peeled off accumulate one by one, and even the wind cannot scrape the surface skin. A shapeless bedrock created by the compression of silence. It is the anchor of the shadow of time, the invisible track of a distant star. It is the gravestone of words that have ceased to be spoken. If history is something that continues to overlap without fading away, then beyond the endless accumulation, we are sure of that moment. Some imprints are worn away by the wind, some traces are washed away by water, but there are some things that cannot be removed. The gravel of thought that settles, sticks, and becomes a stratum. They are relics that have no name, letters that can never be deciphered, and they have lost their meaning, but only their existence is there for sure. Memory is sand that crumbles the moment we touch it, or an ore that never shatters. We accumulate while forgetting, and we forget while accumulating. But this stratum does not disappear. In a place where no erosion can reach, nameless layers lie dormant. It is the silence of consciousness, the immobility of time, the remains of concepts. It is the immortality, that which never washes away, never peels away, but simply continues to be. If I touch this sedimentary layer and try to recognize my own contours, it is a self-reference in the name of memory. What remains, what melts, what continues to accumulate at the bottom of this universe, it is impossible to know. But a weight that should not be there is etched into the texture of the world. Voiceless echoes accumulate, holding contours without being touched, sleeping in the depths of time, but never becoming nothing. The shadow that blurs the space between thought and reality is the heat of a finger that once touched it. Whenever one stops, one sinks into that invisible layer and names the discomfort that remains in the sole of one's foot as memory. The sediment, which even oblivion has lost, is exposed to the infinite time, yet it does not crack or erode, but simply continues to exist as if it were breath. We can truly capture this indefinite remains. What was once called truth and once called existence. The landscape that has lost its name is transformed directly into a stratum. No matter how we crawl our fingers or claw our fingernails, this accumulation does not move. It does not scrape, or peel, but only continues to exist, deep and far away.